Good evening and welcome to The Frame, an initiative of Access Framingham. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick. We begin tonight with the City Council's Finance Subcommittee as they officially began their detailed review of the General and Enterprise Fund budgets for fiscal year 2025 on Saturday. As it stands now, the recommended FY25 budget is about $359 million, a $15 million raise compared to last year, or 4.4%. It projects a 2.5% property tax levy, which would bring in an additional $5.3 million in revenue compared to FY24. Before the City Council votes on the matter in June, the Finance Subcommittee will review its components, including the recommended $172.6 million for Framingham Public Schools. As we've mentioned in prior episodes, that number was reached following staffing cuts at the FPS Central Office, in addition to the leveling of most school department budgets, meaning that they'll be getting the same amount of money that they got last year. Meanwhile, the recommended police budget is $19.7 million, roughly $250,000 more than last year's budget. Police Chief Lester Baker told the Finance Subcommittee on Saturday that the raise covers things like the purchase of cell phones for all officers. Those devices will be used for translation purposes, as well as other tools to increase communication between officers and the public.
More than 50% of the calls that we go on, the officers are not able to communicate with the people they're speaking to. An officer is not going to use their personal cell phone for something that may become discovery in a court proceeding later.
The fire department's recommended FY25 budget is $17.7 million, 94% of which is dedicated to personnel. Michael Dutcher, the city's fire chief, explained that the FY25 personnel costs add 6.5% on top of the personnel number from FY24. The last order of business on Saturday, a presentation from DPW Director Bob Lewis, who outlined his department's $13.8 million recommended budget. That's actually about $150,000 less than what they received last year. In spite of a more lean budget, Lewis said he's confident that the DPW will be able to keep up with local road work.
So we will continue to just move along. It'll be a slower pace. I have to adjust my estimations of completion times because things are going to be a little bit slower. They're going to take a little bit longer to do. And we'll stretch that money as far as we can.
No final votes on the school, police, fire, and DPW budgets were taken on Saturday by the Finance Subcommittee. They have a number of meetings scheduled for the rest of the month, with the next set for Tuesday the 14th at 6 p.m. During Tuesday's full City Council meeting, Mayor Charlie Sisitsky expressed his support for the installation of solar panels at FPS's Farley Building, a reversal of a prior decision to defer the project from the upcoming capital budget plan for the city. Estimated to cost $1.75 million, the Farley Solar Project was part of the school committee's capital budget request for FY25, but it was deferred back in March as Sisitsky pointed to a policy calling for no more than 5% of the operating budget being spent on annual debt service. Since then, more than 400 residents have signed a petition to call on Sisitsky to reconsider the decision. That petition was drafted by volunteers with Energize Framingham, a local group that promotes environmental advocacy and education. Lead for the group, Amy Pawelka, spoke during the City Council meeting on Tuesday, contending that the Farley project could produce clean energy and save money on local electric bills.
This is an opportune time for solar on public buildings. The Inflation Reduction Act enables municipalities to receive a 30% refund on the total cost of the solar installations, which completely changes the financial analysis of public solar projects.
Pawelka provided details on a feasibility study regarding the Farley plan. Some of the major findings: rebates and incentives could surpass $1 million, as the solar array could pay back initial investments within 5 years, while saving close to $4 million over the course of 20 years.
We acknowledge that this is a challenging budget year, but the Farley Solar Project has been requested in the capital budget since fiscal year 22. And if we are not willing to invest in clean energy projects that save our taxpayers money on a consistent basis, then we are losing our most valuable resource of time.
Sisitsky announced his support for the Farley plan following the presentation. He explained he previously worked with, quote, incomplete information, end quote, but has since met with his administration to get a plan in motion.
We're going to find the money to do the design, and we will move ahead with it as quickly as we can and get this project done.
Before that project can go out to bid, Sisitsky explained that the city has to create a design plan while also considering the Farley Building's future use. The mayor projected that the money to start this process should become available soon after July 1st. As for the state budget for FY25, the Massachusetts Senate's nearly $58 billion proposal features $75.5 million for a plan that would make community college tuition-free for all residents. Mass Educate is the name of the proposal. It would cover fees and tuition for all state residents attending classes at community colleges, including Mass Bay Community College here in the Metro West region. A stipend worth up to $1,200 for books and additional supplies would be available for residents making 125% of the median state income or less. In a statement, State Senate President and Senator for the 2nd Middlesex and Norfolk District, Karen Spilka, said, quote, "We are investing in talent that is right here at home and opening the workforce floodgates to employers who are starved for graduates so Massachusetts keeps the competitive edge that we pride ourselves in," end quote. Meanwhile, city officials are looking for residents to fill seats on a pair of local municipal groups. The 5-member Board of Health is in need of 2 individuals to fill vacancies. One term ends in July of 2026, while another ends in June of 2027. The board aims to promote healthy living locally while protecting and preserving the well-being of residents through developing health policies, boosting awareness, and enforcing standards. The deadline to apply for the Board of Health is Sunday, May 19th at 11:59 p.m. Meanwhile, 3 at-large seats on the Framingham Community Preservation Committee will be open by the end of June. That group reviews potential uses for Community Preservation Act money and develops their own recommendations to the City Council. The deadline to apply to that group is 11:59 p.m. on Monday, May 27th. Applications for both of these groups can be found at the Form Center on www.framinghamma.gov. Again, that's the Form Center at framinghamma.gov. There's been plenty of happenings going on locally as budget season continues, and we'll be keeping you up to date with all of that and more local news on our website, www.theframe.news. From need-to-know updates that matter in our city to events happening locally, especially as the summer approaches, we've got you covered. You can find more details on the stories you'll see each week on our show, as well as feature pieces we've covered to bring Framingham news into focus. Again, that's www.theframe.news. Also, we'd love to hear about any story ideas that you may have. Whether it's an upcoming event or a municipal matter that you'd like to learn more about, you're more than welcome to reach out to us with ideas. You can give a call to our voicemail line and leave a message there. The number is 508-216-0003. You can also send an email into our inbox. The address there is theframe@accessfram.tv. Coming up on The Frame, a look back at the history of the former General Motors plant here in Framingham through a panel with the city's History Center. Plus, in recognition of Teacher Appreciation Week here in the U.S., a conversation with an educator who works at Dunning Elementary School. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/therightseat.
Welcome back in, as it's now time for our weekly focus. Cars have long been ingrained in American culture, and for many, automobiles are more than just a means of getting from point A to point B. In fact, they're a way to make a living. That's something Framingham is very familiar with, as decades ago it was home to one of the largest industrial manufacturing sites in the state, General Motors. Founded back in 1908, General Motors makes some of the most recognizable automobile brands and models in the world, including Chevrolet and Buick. Until Framingham's own GM plant closed back in 1989 and later became ADESA Boston and employed over 2,000 workers for decades. Access Framingham and the Framingham History Center welcomed a few of those workers into our studio for a panel discussion to look back on the historical significance of Framingham's GM plant and what it was like to work there. The Frame's Mackenzie Wright has the story.
The town of Framingham becomes the center of interest for all Massachusetts as this progressive community is selected by the great automotive industry for the location of its first big assembly plant in New England.
Almost 2,000 people that worked on the line at one time, and they were doing 1 car per minute, 60 cars an hour. Our job was to make sure all the equipment was running properly.
I got hired as a toolmaker along with Don. We started the same day.
I started spot welding on in the jungle, we used to call it.
They threw me in a pit with the line, and you had to duck. The cars were going over here. They'd throw the bumper across to the other guy on the top. It was heavy, you had a gun, boom, boom, boom.
In soft trim, they made the seats. They put in the seats. They had all the garnish moldings.
I started off on the sheet metal line, hoods and fenders.
Throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, working within Framingham's General Motors plant on Western Ave, now recognized as the auto auction giant Odessa, Boston, was no easy task.
For a couple of weeks, I ran my butt off and I didn't have a chance to look around because I was sweating so bad and just dying.
I'll tell you, if you were near the body shop, you were breathing smoke, lead, and all that stuff. And the noise definitely affected your ears. Most of the jobs, you ended up with tendonitis in both hands from doing the same thing all the time.
You take a piece of fiberglass panel, put the panel on, and then put the clips in. And it's real hot, and you're sweating, and you leave there at night. Now you can feel these little prickly things all over your body. And you're going home and at midnight you're taking a shower just to try to get the fiberglass off.
Members of this panel, some of whom started working at Framingham's GM plant as early as 1965, were grateful for the opportunity to raise their standard of living for themselves and their families.
Back in the early 60s, the outside jobs were paying $65 a week, and it was a 48-hour week. But when a person let me know about GM over in Framingham, when I went over there, it was $100 a week, big money.
When you went to work for General Motors, us people in this area was like going to heaven because you know, it was a great job. And like Paul said, everybody else was making $65 a week. But the union shop was...
They brought it in.
Brought you know,
different
brought the
jobs.
standard of living up for people, you know.
Chevrolet's Impala, graceful and swift.
Despite the strenuous work, the sense of community and friendship within the plant was like no other.
As hard as the work was, and truly it was hard, I had so much fun with the people that I worked with. It was just really, you'd go in there, you'd laugh so hard you'd be crying and your stomach would hurt because you were laughing so hard at some of the antics and stuff.
A big part of that community was rooted in the camaraderie within the United Auto Workers, UAW for short.
You could hate the guy next to you, but when it came to a matter of sticking up for him, you would go to the grave swearing whatever he was accused of, he never did. It was you stuck up for your brother or sister in the union. It was solidarity, it was fraternity, and it was just ingrained.
It was that connection that got these workers through some tough times. The auto industry changed drastically while the plant was open, from the late 40s to its closure in 1989. From concerns about pollution leading to the use of catalytic converters to smaller foreign vehicles coming into the U.S. Perhaps one of the most memorable challenges for GM, gas shortages within the United States back in 1973.
At that time, a lot of the second shift people, were laid off. It was an impact because there were, there's gas lines, you'd have to wait in line, and then if I remember correctly, you whatever your number plate was, you had an
odd or an even day. That's right.
So,
That's right.
It was tough.
The reason for the closing of the GM plant was complicated, but according to Charlie McMahon,
there was a lot of politics involved with it too. I mean, between General Motors and the town, some of the local leaders, some of the local town officials didn't see the benefit of having GM there. They thought they didn't really need them that much.
All these years later, these gentlemen look back fondly on their time at General Motors and continue to enjoy a great sense of appreciation and pride for their craftsmanship.
It's amazing, though, to see a car, a bunch of scrap metal put together, and then at the end of the line, drive that car off, and put a gallon of gas in it, and drive that off the line, and you got a brand new car.
And in case you were wondering what the cost of some of those vehicles were,
I ordered a pickup truck. It was '77. I had a Scottsdale, beautiful, top of the line. You know what it cost me? $4,670.
I bought a 57 Chevy for $2,800. I bought a 60 Chevy Super Sport for $3,200.
$2,800 for a brand new vehicle. That sounds pretty good right about now. The Framingham History Center will be hosting a special lecture and panel on Saturday, June the 15th at 3 p.m. at the Village Hall on the Common to further explore Framingham's deep-rooted automotive history. The public is welcome to attend the event, and a ticketed reception will follow. You can learn more at www.framinghamhistory.org. Again, that's www.framinghamhistory.org. Now on to the weather for the next few days. There's a slight chance of showers for Friday, otherwise mostly cloudy and breezy, with highs in the upper 50s and lows around 40 degrees. Clearing up on Saturday, though, expect mostly sunshine then, with highs near 60 and lows in the low 40s. Finally, for Mother's Day on Sunday, mostly cloudy with highs in the upper 50s and lows in the low 40s once more. Not the best outlook to celebrate the occasion, but still, happy Mother's Day to all. That's now 2 straight weeks where I've shouted out my own mom on the show. Now, on our last episode, we visited Mass Bay's new Framingham building for a story ahead of National Nurses Week, which is this week. At the same time, this week is also National Teacher Appreciation Week. In recognition of that, we spoke with Jamie Dobson, a language development coach over at Dunning Elementary School. During our conversation, Jamie talked about her background in the field, what inspires her to educate local kids, and more. Let's take a look.
I actually wasn't an educator right out of high school. I went from high school, got a job, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I worked full time while putting myself through undergraduate, and then when it came time to kind of make a move, I decided that I want to go get my master's in teaching. So I went back to school, and I really fell in love with teaching, and I had a real draw to working with emergent bilinguals, also known as English language learners. What really drove me to ESL was my grandmother is Italian, and when she was here in the 50s, she kind of refused to speak Italian because she had that mindset to, you know, we're in America, we need to speak English. So I feel like a part of me and my mother has kind of lost out on our heritage in learning our language because there was not really a push to kind of retain that. And so it was really important to me to make sure that I work with students who are learning English, but that, you know, wanting to make sure that they retain their own cultural and linguistic heritage as well.
Now, what's one part of your job that people may not think about instantly or right off the bat that you would want members of the community to know about?
I think that sometimes we kind of forget that we have like little kids, and so we have all these expectations of little kids, but sometimes they're just still little kids. Even, you know, my 5th graders, they look so grown up, but they're still only 10. And as teachers, we're trying to make sure we're not only teaching them, you know, the things that you can learn in the books, but the things that you don't always learn in the books. How to be friends, how to make friends, how to forgive, how to, you know, ask somebody to play with them. So all of these really kind of life-building skills that there's no curriculum for is something that we do really without thinking, and really kind of, it's just integrated in all parts of our day. The best advice I think I could give somebody who might want to come into education is to really focus on, you know, the positives. It's really sometimes you can get bogged down and all the things that are out of your control. So just really focus on kind of your circle of control and making sure that you know what's best for your students, making sure that you're an advocate for your students. So really you need to have like a strong voice, because you are there to help support your students. So making sure that you are putting your kind of earmuffs on to all the other noise that's happening and just really focusing on your students.
And we'd like to thank Jamie, as well as all other teachers in Framingham, for their hard work and dedication towards educating local students. Our full interview with Jamie will be posted on our website, www.theframe.news. If you've got a local teacher you want to shout out, we'd love to hear from you on social media. You can tag us on Instagram as well as on X. Both of our accounts can be found at @FrameNews_. Tag us when you're out in the community and follow us there for daily updates. New episodes of The Frame are also uploaded to the Access Framingham YouTube channel. Hit the bell icon to be notified when they go live. We're on Facebook too. Just search for The Frame to find us there. Now, before we take a quick break, we want to remind you that The Frame is taped weekly at Access Framingham's studio, located in the heart of the Framingham Center Common Cultural District. Access Framingham's mission is to engage, serve, and enrich the community by developing programming by and for the people of the city, providing educational opportunities, as well as facilitating the exchange of ideas and information through traditional and new media. Access Framingham offers personalized workshops in Adobe Creative Suite, podcasting, and TV production. Membership is open to all who work, live, or attend school in Framingham. AFTV recently attended an awards reception hosted by the Framingham Cultural Council at the city's main public library on May 2nd. Scholarships and special awards were given to high school seniors, along with other members of the community. Voices of Metro West, a nonprofit volunteer-run community chorus here in Framingham, was there to celebrate the occasion, and we wanted to take a look at the joy and inspiration they brought. And welcome back to The Frame. Let's check in on what else is happening here in Framingham, as the Massachusetts Department of Transportation has provided some updates on a pair of roadwork projects in the city. MassDOT crews continue to work on a project to install a traffic signal at Edgell Road and Central Street as part of a roughly $2.5 million state project that will aim to provide enhanced pedestrian access as well as improved visibility and overall safety. Utility work for the plan has to be completed prior to construction work beginning, according to state officials, meaning that more delays in that area should continue to be expected. As for the ongoing Union Ave project, the state has announced that their projected date of completion is September 11th. Prior to that, paving will be carried out from Proctor Street to Walnut Street between May 21st and 23rd. In the meantime, MassDOT said the new traffic signal on Union at Mount Wait Ave is operational, while another signal at Walnut and Lincoln Streets will be live within the next couple of weeks. The city is seeking volunteers to help place flags at the graves of armed forces vets across the city on Saturday, May 18th. Over 5,000 flags are set to be planted in local cemeteries, especially Edgell Grove Cemetery, ahead of Memorial Day. Volunteers are asked to meet at Edgell Grove at 9 a.m. next Saturday, with the rain date being May 25th. Anyone who's interested can reach out to the city's Veterans Services Director, Kathleen Lang, klang@framinghamma.gov. Also, Mayor Sisitsky has announced that the city will be launching a Hometown Heroes banner program in recognition of military members with Framingham connections. 30 vets will be honored this year with banners that will be hung between June and November. The deadline to submit a name for this year's banners is Wednesday, May 15th. More details can be found at the Civic Alerts section on the city's website. A household hazardous waste collection event will be held this Saturday, the 11th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the DPW Operations Center along Western Ave. During that time, Framingham residents can bring hazardous materials and waste to be properly disposed of. That includes pesticides, bug spray, oil and lead-based paints, kerosene, pool chemicals, concentrated fertilizers, and more. Commercial waste will not be accepted, and proof of residency will be required. A full list of what is and is not being accepted is online at the city's website, framinghamma.gov, and any questions can be answered by the city's sanitation division by calling 508-532-6001. Once more, 508-532-6001. Also, a reminder that the city's recycling center and yard waste facility will be closed on Sunday in recognition of Mother's Day. In closing tonight, a beautiful display of community was seen and heard at Downtown Framingham Inc.'s first annual Spring Fest this past Saturday, the 4th. Several local businesses and organizations were present on Framingham's downtown common, including singers from Dia Feliz. A performance from Lee Wilson Entertainment was also featured. Let's take a listen now. What's going on in your mind? I just want to spend some time, baby. You and I spend some time. To check out all of the performances from DFI's Spring Fest, head over to Access Framingham's website, www.accessfram.tv, or head to their YouTube channel. That's all for this week's Framingham News in Focus. For the entire team here at The Frame, thank you for spending time with us tonight. My name is Brendan Fitzpatrick. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.